The internet is back on in Canada, so I'm back at it. Let's talk first thing, the trade. That 13th overall pick the Islanders traded. Did they get good value for trading that pick away? Hit that subscribe button. Do not miss a video. Also, go to Twitter, follow at TLOMitch. That's me. Don't miss any breaking information about Islanders prospects I've yet to cover on the channel. As you know, the big thing that happened for the Islanders on draft weekend, I'm going to say, even though it was a Thursday-Friday deal, either way, the big thing that happened for them is they traded away their 13th overall pick for Alex Romanov and the, let me just make sure I got it right, 98th overall selection of the 2022 draft. So they bring in Alex Romanov and a 22 98th overall, so it's a 4th round pick, and they give up their 13th. So did they get good value for that trade? I think the first thing we have to look at is, well, who was available for them at that slot? And while there was obviously a number of players because we're only 13 picks in at that point, but you've got some of the notable names. You got Frank Nazar Jr., who was selected with, or the third, Frank Nazar the third, not Jr., either way. Frank Nazar was selected 13th overall by Chicago because eventually this pick was sent to Chicago in a Kirby Dach deal. Either way, you got Frank Nazar, Joakim Kemmel, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, and Danila Yurov are the really main names that stand out to me anyways that the Islanders could have selected at that pick for the 13th overall. So they could have got either one of those guys or anyone else that you fancied instead that wasn't yet selected. So they don't allow, or they don't give themselves the place to bring in that caliber of prospect. And all of those names that I listed, plus whatever one you're probably thinking of, it is probably a pretty darn good pick. Going to turn into a decent NHLer at some point at the NHL level. So they gave up on that for Alex Romanov. Is that already in and of itself a fair deal? You might say that some of these guys are going to project to maybe something better than Alex Romanov. Maybe Joakim Kemmel turns into Cole Caulfield, scores 30, 40 goals at the league, and is an absolutely dynamic player. Maybe Jonathan Lekkerimäki is an absolute dynamite player as well. Maybe Nazar turns into like a captain or something. Yurov becomes a huge player. But the big thing here is maybe. We already know what Alex Romanov's base is. His base ceiling at the NHL level is already established. He's already a top 4 defenseman at the NHL level, and he's only 22 years old. Now, we all thought this was something Lou Lamoriello was going to do, right? None of us thought that he was going to make a selection at 13th overall. We really didn't. We all figured he was going to trade this pick. Getting ready for that, I recorded a video before the draft, if you remember, and I spoke exactly about what I was hoping he would pull from this 13th overall pick. And it was a top 4 defenseman in his prime, and I thought he might have to give a little bit more to pull in that top 4 defenseman in his prime. So when you look at the market based off of just last year's trades, in and around where the Islanders' first round pick is, what is proper valuation? A top 4 defenseman. They should be able to, in his prime, mind you, a prime top 4 defenseman. We're not talking about just any top 4 defenseman. We're talking about a defenseman in his prime. So a 13th overall pick, and maybe a little bit more based on how good that top 4 defenseman is, should get it done. Lou Lamoriello got a top 4 defenseman who's not even entering his prime, or hasn't yet entered his prime. What are we complaining about? I'm not going to say he got the best value possible for that 13th overall pick, but I'm pretty happy about what he got. You can say, and I would agree with you, that maybe Lou could have got a little bit more than that 4th round pick, which is the first 4th round pick of the round. So like technically a 3rd, I suppose. He probably could have got a little bit more out of that pick, maybe an earlier pick, if you will. Sure, I agree with you on that. But I think the missed value, if we're going to say it that way, is can be regained by the Islanders with the potential of Alex Romanov. Because again, this is a guy who hasn't yet entered his prime. He's going to get better. And that better eventually is going to give us the value we missed on the trade in bringing back for us. We're going to get more out of this player eventually. He's, again, only 22. He's an RFA. He's not going anywhere. This was a good trade for the Islanders. You should be absolutely happy about it. I understand that we didn't keep the 13th overall pick and we didn't make a selection like Frank Nazar, like Joakim Kemmel, like Jonathan Lekkerimäki, Danila Yurov, names, etc., etc. I get it. But man, we brought in a really good top 4 defenseman who's not even in his prime yet. There's nothing to complain about here. Thank you for watching. There's more content coming specifically about this draft. We're going to break down the prospects they selected. I've already tried to line up a couple of interviews with the guys, so we're going to get to know them a little bit more. Now that the Canadian internet is back online, I'll be able to push these things out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. And if you have already or plan on doing it, thank you, thank you, thank you.